So thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. I'm hoping it's going to be an interesting and fun conversation. So shall we dive right in, or do we have any thoughts? Okay. So jumping right in that case, since the conversation is largely about the multi-channel, omni-channel, the converging customer journeys in the phygital world, physical and digital world, let's just kick it right off with how are we orchestrating seamless consumer journeys in the digital world these days? So I come from retail again. So back in 2004, when I first started with retail, there was nothing called phygital. Everything was like physical. You literally had like store, and we used to literally pick up sacks of stuff and put it on the shelves, and that's how it was back then. But now the world has come a long way since then. So what have you seen? Most of you gentlemen have also been around for a while now in retail. So what have you seen in your industry, in your respective firms? How is this converging? How is you get a lot of e-commerce customers and you get a lot of offline customers, but they expect the seamless experience. What's really happening in this? Shall we start with you, Vinod?
Yeah, sure. Is this audible? Yeah. So to start with, I'll start on the physical first because
Sure.
that's how it all started. Today's stores that we see and operate are not just stores actually. They are first a brand experience
Yes.
that we create for our customers, then a discovery point for the customers, and also a fulfillment center for our customers.
Yes.
So a store is no longer an ideal store that we look at and just display products and the customers will buy and sell. It's actually divided into three parts. And keeping that in mind, it becomes very, very important that we give that experience, brand experience that the customer is expecting, ensure that she is able to discover the products that she is looking for, so that there is a right product available for the fashionability that she is looking for. And eventually, there is so much of online presence, e-commerce presence that is there, ensure that it also is able to fulfill. Now, bringing all of this together, there is a large role that technology actually plays on doing this together, because without that, it becomes extremely difficult to actually do what we are trying to execute now. So as a customer behavior or an omni-channel behavior that we are seeing, the customer is interacting with you at multiple points, is giving you cues on what she is expecting, what she is driving into and wanting to take from you, and from there to convert into actual actionable data to satisfy the customer needs is what the focus is all about now, keeping omni-channel in mind. And that's something that I'm sure all retailers are working towards on.
Any specific examples you can think of on how you've been investing in technology to help this converging needs?
So there are quite a few things actually. Just an example, one of the biggest example, if I may actually ask, talk about is how can we use, let's say, RFID and the e-commerce data together. While it is not the best of the combinations you would feel in the first instance that you hear it, but actually it is extremely, extremely valuable when you start combining information that is coming in, because RFID starts giving you the entire end-to-end tracking that is possible on the inventory side of it, which is what the customer is looking for. And the customer behavior coming from multiple channels is actually able to satisfy and get that information actually more valuable. So you are able to bring the customer behaviors from one side and the inventory behavior from other side and merge it together and actually create some actionable, valuable outcomes that you can actually work on. So that's a simple example to start with.
That's absolutely fantastic. In fact, we've gone one step ahead on that. We've also converged and created a QR code on top of all of this so that you can take the inventory and customer information all the way to the customer's house. Because a QR code is something you can actually scan on your phone as well, and you can learn more about the product, etc., etc. But I completely understand where you're coming from. It's brilliant. Kunal, your thoughts on this?
I think pretty similar to what Vinod mentioned, right? For most of the retailers, it's going to be a similar journey in so many ways to try and bring in a cumulative data set across all the touch points, whether it's online, it's a marketplace, it's your own stores. For us, it becomes even a little more difficult a lot of times because we have a lot of FOFO stores also, right? So when you're trying to get your partners also to work with you, it's that much more difficult because each FOFO store is a different business house by itself in so many ways. So the complications add up that much more. But the important part is to give that same experience and journey to the customer across, right? And that's never going to be easy, whether it's in terms of the brand recognition, the kind of experience they want online, vis-a-vis what they're getting it in the store.
Yeah.
That also needs to be very similar. So for us, for example, we had Now first. We're moving to a lot of .com. So we just launched US Polo a couple of months back. You would be aware of it. We work very closely on a lot of things. And we see amazing traction in it. It's unbelievable the kind of customer engagement we're getting on our .coms. And for each brand, we're creating our own identity now, right? But yes, I mean, the expectation of the customer today is to have the product available at any point of time. And that's what we need to work on.
Perfect. Sounds
Especially
good.
with quick commerce also now playing a major role, yeah.
That's going to be my second question, but before we jump onto that, I want to hear Jagpreet's views on this one. Sorry, skipping you, Ranjan, for just a second. I want to know from a non-fashion situation also, how are you kind of converging the two worlds now?
So, am I audible? Yeah. So, for the food industry, it's all about occasions. So, you eating dinner at home is an occasion. You going out for a quick lunch from office is an occasion. And it's the same customer. We try to give them the same experience as far as possible at each occasion which is relevant to them. Now, another word comes in convenience. So we have things like drive-through, which is a convenience channel. It's the same experience, but in a different mode of convenience. Delivery is another mode of convenience. Now, what delivery is doing to a large extent is generating customer data. However, majority of the delivery is with our large marketplaces. So that data doesn't really flow to the brands directly.
Yeah.
So we are trying to navigate this world where we can match some customers who come on our own delivery channels, cannot match some customers, but we are trying to marry this data together to understand how we can serve the customer better, what their preferences are, and then give them the same experience from one touch point to the next and then to the last one. So that's sort of the journey we are on.
That's fair enough. Ranjan, your thoughts?
No, I think all of this has been said. So I think nothing new that I would have to say, but I think what's important from our perspective is we are trying the other way around. There are a lot of experiences and a lot of journeys that you create in a physical store, which is very, very so much more critical, so much more important from a consumer's perspective. Like an assisted selling, that's so much more critical. You go and you get lost in on the e-commerce portal in terms of finding a product, saying what will work for me, what looks good on me, right? At the storefront, at least you have somebody who can help you there. The second big piece is about you are able to physically touch the product, feel the product, see the product, and then try it out as well. My thought process is it's not just one thing going the other way, like taking a lot of the good things that we're doing on the e-commerce front into the physical store, but also taking back a lot of those good things why people actually come, put that effort, take that time out to walk into our stores and experience these things. We want to take it back in terms of assisted selling on the commerce portals, on the digital channels, help out the customers, because our brands are more of products where you need a different kind of an experience in terms of being able to help the customer to be able to decide what kind of a look, what kind of a product they would want to buy. And hence do that, help them to try it out, help them to figure out on what kind of occasion, how it would look like. And for an occasion, be able to even segregate in terms of finding out for an occasion what kind of a product would they want to buy. So I think it's all about tying all of those dots together, not just taking the good things from the digital channels to the physical side, but also taking the reverse side where we've already mastered the art of doing so many more good things.
That's a new perspective. Thanks for that, for sure. Satish, which side are you on?
For me, am I audible?
I think so.
Hello. For me, the most interesting insight was that the customer is really not going out to do an endless aisle shopping or a multi-channel shopping or a omni-channel shopping. He doesn't worry about how the shopping happens, but the experience and the service standards that he expects should be met. So it starts with first being able to recognize a customer as a unit across multiple channels, and then being able to track that journey through the multiple channels and provide the right level of service experience to the customer. So it should end with something that he expected being given to him at the end of the journey. So the primary work that we have done initially, was to try to get the customer database clean, and we have one single view of customer. That's also work in progress, not always easy to do that. The second part of it is, once you have that, your processes that you have in the store have to change quite a lot. Your physical stores may have to transform itself to be able to allow the customer to walk through the way. So for example, when we do omni-channel sales through Myntra platform, etc., so we get an order which might have to be fulfilled within a certain amount of hours and delivered. We have endless aisle now we have turned on in many stores, where if a size is not available, you move to a different store and then bring this product and deliver it back to the customer's home. So all these combinations should be finally making sense to the customer in terms of their service expectation.
No, absolutely. Like Vinod said earlier, the store is not just a store anymore. It's like multiple things put together now. Bringing us to the next part of the conversation, quick commerce, the big buzzword these days. And fashion and quick commerce, it's an idea, it's exciting. But I want to hear your thoughts on what's really happening on that. I mean, so far quick commerce has all been about CPG, FMCG, even a little bit of electronics, etc. But fashion is still somewhere like kind of experimenting or dabbling into the idea. So, Vinod, do you want to share what are your thoughts on quick commerce?
Let me take that up.
Go ahead, Ranjan.
So I think quick commerce, 2 years back, had you asked me this question, I would have said, yaar, fashion mein quick commerce kyun karna hai yaar? Kisi ko kyun 10 minute mein chahiye kapda? Today, if you ask me, I'm a firm believer it works. But does it work for everything and anything that you would want to do? Does it work for a discoverable product? Or a product that is very fancy, very fashionable? I think we're still some distance away from there. What we're still doing immensely well on a quick commerce is a product that is very a thing that you would want it at the back of your hand in terms of saying, and I'm just moving out, बहुत धूप है यार, गर्मी लग रही है, cab चाहिए. I'm traveling, I have to take a cab, or I'm going to the airport. I need some undergarments. I need a flip-flop. So I think the basic products is where it has started penetrating into. I'm sure there are people who are trying out many more things, but at least what we've done that with is, we've taken good amount of, we have in each of our brands, we will have about 1,200 odd options in a season. We put almost about 100 and 110, 120 odd options to start with. We've seen some very good movement in a few options, and we are gradually increasing it. Where we are also trying to be a little cautious is about being able to manage the inventory. Because what happens is,
that's the key.
If you don't control and if you don't manage the inventory well in a quick commerce space, you might end up multiplying your inventory into so many more dark stores. The good thing with omni-channel and the benefit that you always had in the omni-channel was it's a store where you are able to sell to the consumer, you are able to sell it to do a fulfillment for a customer who is coming from a digital channel. You don't have that leverage here in a quick commerce space yet. Someday you might want to, you might be able to reach there. But most of these dark stores are dedicated stores for each of these quick commerce guys. And it is becoming, it's not about getting excited about what you want to sell and how much you want to sell. But the bigger piece is about being able to manage that inventory, because inventory is the biggest cost that we all carry. From a retailer's perspective, from a fashion retailer's perspective, that is the biggest cost, or that's the biggest money that we put into our products.
No, absolutely right. Just adding on one point before I hand it over. So, a very good example was literally this morning for me. I broke my black heel this morning. I wanted to wear it. And I wanted it like now. Quick commerce was the only option, and there was no other option because I literally had to leave for this place in probably less than an hour. But I couldn't find it anywhere. My only search on all of these quick commerce platforms was a black heel. That's it. I could have bought literally anything available in my size, but I couldn't find it. So probably what he said is right. You know, a few products which you which are not fashion exactly, more core products probably, is probably what you can have, because you can't really have everything on quick commerce because of the width of inventory fashion has, fortunately, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll give you a classic example I faced a few days back. This is with one of my partner. There was a team which came in from Pune. In the evening, we met until, say, I guess we finished the meeting at about 10 o'clock at night. And then we again wanted, and they were supposed to go back to Pune. So they were not carrying clothes for the next day. And I said, I want to meet you back again tomorrow morning. And none of the 3 people coming in from Pune, they had no clothes that they were carrying. And they said, what do we do? What do we wear for tomorrow?
Open the store.
Yeah, we couldn't do that. They went back to the guest house, ordered on the quick commerce, रात को 11:30 बजे delivery आया. Next day, all of them were in new clothes. And that is the fun of quick commerce because रात को 11:30 बजे कौन सा e-commerce वाला deliver करने वाला है 11 बजे रात को order करके.
That's true.
So I think there is a use case. There is definitely a merit in doing it, but you have to be very cautious in how you do it.
Especially जब store बंद हो गया है. At that time, you really can't do anything. I can't go to the Geo Drive mall
Absolutely.
to actually buy my shoes. So.
But you know, a lot of these things really surprise us, right? I mean, 6 months back, probably none of us would have even thought about quick commerce really becoming so bad. And I mean, you can understand that from the grocery perspective or anything like, or consumable product, but something like fashion, I would have never thought about it.
Yeah.
But people are ordering a US Polo and a Tommy Hilfiger, and like, how does someone order a 10,000 rupee product on a quick commerce and expect a delivery, right? But like he rightly pointed out, all the problems around it is on the inventory part of it, number one, and how much do you really put yourself out there, because inventory is going to remain a big issue, and which stores do you supply from? How does that entire supply chain part work is going to be a question mark. But like we learned how to come into the omni-channel world, I think we learned to, you know, put our stakes around and figure out our head in terms of how will quick commerce also work for us.
Super. So, Vinod, finally.
No worries. Another way to look at quick commerce is the width versus depth, which Ranjan and Kunal both touched upon. I think that obviously plays its part. But having said that, what quick commerce has also done has changed the buying habits of customers.
Yes.
While it is very dominantly seen in the grocery and the fruits and vegetable area, it is also going to change the way probably fashion is being bought, for sure. For example, in the grocery, fruits and vegetables area, it has changed the buying habits from a monthly shopping to an on-the-spot kind of, you already have something on your stuff which you are actually wanting to buy. Dhania khatam ho gaya, and just get it and you're done in 10 minutes. Obviously, that is a very, very different way of looking at things. Having said that, that is never going to happen in fashion. Your case is obviously different this morning, but but in fashion, yes, there will be some decisions that can be made using quick commerce by the customers. But I think there is space for everyone there, not just quick commerce, but the regular e-commerce, if I may say that term, and even for the offline retail. I mean, for example, go to any big four today, be it like even BCG or PwC or anyone. No one will give you a business strategy which will not include e-commerce, right? Yeah. They will all tell you do e-commerce for sure, and it works. And there is a contrarian view. For example, our own brand Zudio, we have taken a conscious call that we will not do e-commerce at all. Right? And we don't do e-commerce on Zudio. Yes, there is e-commerce for Westside. But that actually helps us get a lot of traffic. The only thing we are focusing is, instead of doing e-commerce, can we go to customers as close as possible, near to their home? So we have opened a lot of stores and make sure that every Friday when we are launching, the look of the store changes. Because we do launch every Friday new options. So the customer, every time she walks in, she should feel that she is into a completely new store every time, at least once a week when she comes in. And that also works for this industry, for fashion, because eventually it's all about experience. And my personal view is quick commerce will graduate for fashion into maybe buying the core products which you know you are anyways going to require always. But if you want to buy fashion, the customer is wanting to experience the fashion, wanting to see the fashion, wanting to see the fabric, and she will make a choice inside of a store, and definitely with a better units per transaction that we track instead of one quantity on quick commerce. So that probably is also, so there's space for everyone is what I'm trying to say.
Of course. Thanks for that. By the way, I love that you refer to your customer as she, even though you serve both genders. But that's pretty awesome. Before we move on to Jagpreet, Satish, let's finish the fashion part of this, and then we figure out how do we do this on burgers.
No, I had just one point to add to what everybody has already said. I think most of the points were covered. The only one point is it doesn't work across all catchment areas.
Yes.
It has to be, the two things that really need to be thought about is which catchment area and which merchandise. And that, if you keep that tight, then there is a great business model. Then there's a great business model to get that business going well.
Perfect. Jagpreet, what's happening in your area on quick commerce?
It was always
All
quick
he has to do
commerce.
is just feed people's mouth.
It was always quick commerce.
Just
In
be
fact,
available.
it was QSR, right? It was always quick commerce in that sense. Any changes with the whole Swiggies and Zomatos of the world?
What has happened is there's a lot of noise because of the quick commerce companies that they are going to open their own cafes and they're going to replace the restaurant industry.
Like Zepto Cafe, etc.
Exactly. But how I see it is it's just going to keep the restaurant industry on its toes. Because 20 minutes delivery for restaurants should be the norm. Why do you want to deliver in 40 minutes? And what the quality of your food is going to be in 40 minutes is like nobody would want to eat 40-minute total food, right? So it's just something that should have been there all along. Now quick commerce is making us do it, and we are doing it for the customer more than for the competition because it's a good thing for the customer. So this is just reverting to what it should have been all along is my view on it.
But only McDonald's can say that. Huh? Biryani would say that I need one hour to actually simmer before I can serve this. But
if you order biryani from a restaurant, do you think they put it on the stove? And
of course. So we did discuss briefly about the changing world of physical world. You said, Ranjan, that physical store is still very important and that's the way to go as far as Bestseller is concerned. Do you think the overall role will change now with the changes happening in the industry of the physical store itself? Like you mentioned, Vinod, earlier, it's going to be more like a dark store / a warehouse / a physical store customer walks into. But is there anything more that you see coming for a physical store? Is it going to change drastically from what we see now? Please.
If the question is directed at me, so for restaurants, there have been a lot of experiments with dark stores, some successful, some not successful, but we believe that brands are built in the restaurant. Brands are not built on your app, brands are not built on other people's apps.
Okay.
So you have to get the customer in the restaurant, you have to give them a good experience, then they remember you, and then they are sticky to you. Otherwise, they will order from you today, they might order from you tomorrow if you are still cheaper than the next person. So if you want to form a real connection with your customer, then all of your digital channels have to complement your store and your in-store experience. That's our view on it.
Primary experience is store, in your opinion.
Yes, exactly.
Actually, let me ask the rest of the four gentlemen a different question. So let's say in 2 years' time, where do you see most of your inventory lying? Is it going to be in the warehouses, dark stores, stores? What do you think is going to happen to the inventory?
Nobody knows what's going to happen in 2 years. But to be very honest, I don't think beyond a point much will change, right? If you look at the ecosystem overall, yes, you'll have a dark store. Yes, you'll have your store. You'll have your warehouses. You'll have your e-commerce players. All of that playing their own role. The percentage of who does more well may change a little bit here and there. Overall, I think stores will still remain the focus, right? It's your brand identity. It's what the customer resonates with you as a brand. He or she, whoever it is, walks into your store because they relate to you, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't have physical stores and malls and all of that opening all the time. So you can't take away that customer experience. No other platform can give you that customer experience. You can create a beautiful website. You can do everything possible on your social commerce, e-commerce, all of that. But you need to create that brand identity in your store where the customer walks in and feels proud about what they're going to take in that shopping bag and move out, right? And that's the only way to connect, to be very honest. Everything else, I think there are bells and whistles around it to stay connected, to stay engaged with your customer, improve your sales, give that opportunity for them to buy things as and when, wherever they want it from the flexibility perspective. But I think physical stores is what stays. And that's what every brand should be passionate about.
No, you're absolutely right. Even I would rather buy my black heels in a physical store, try it on, see it looks good or not. But this was an emergency, so I wanted it like right now. And the stores were not open at the time when I had actually leave. But yeah, you're right. I think even I would rather just walk into a store and actually try it out and then buy it.
So one more way to look at it, in addition to whatever I think our people mentioned here, what is also important and what the physical store will evolve into while the customer experience and technology and everything that is happening will obviously improve the experience for our customers. I think there is a lot to gain in increasing or bettering the quality of life of the store associates itself.
Okay.
There is this side of store which hardly people talk about, but improving the quality of life of our own store colleagues and ensuring that they are able to deliver the experience to our customers, that area will also improve a lot in a physical store moving forward is what I feel, because there's so many unlocks available there, which probably at this point in time are not been looked into because the focus has always been customer experience to start with. But the customer experience can only be bettered. There is a way of technology and usage of technology that will make it better for sure. But the touch point or your ambassadors for the customer, your brand ambassadors for the customers are the people who are actually interacting with the customer, which are your store colleagues. And if they are obviously able to do a better job on what they are expected to do, I think that will be a significant change that can actually create in a physical store. In e-commerce, that's not there. There you have your UI UX reviews and your flows and everything, which will only get better. And at some point in time, everything looks the same. I mean, look at the quick commerce apps for that matter. You just open, it's only the brand name that probably is different, and everything, probably the flow is more or less the same other than the banners on the top. So I think there is quite a few unlocks available in that physical store where people can actually create a difference from the other side also.
So you're saying retail is primarily a service industry at the end of the day, right? And if the people who are giving that service to the customer, if they are not happy with what's happening in their lives,
if the quality of life is not good, they remain disgruntled, and what are they going to do to your customers at the end of it?
A customer also knows when the store associate is giving a fake smile. We all know that, right? We've all seen that. And
absolutely.
Just to add one more point, if you look at the difference that will come is the difference in the experience that the customer gets at the store. That has to elevate. Only then would this justify the customer coming to the store, experiencing the brand, and then buying it. So to that extent, I would see that there will be a lot more interactiveness and a lot more gamification type of ideas that are coming into to make sure that the customer, when he goes into the store, not only sees product, but also understands and interacts with the product and the experience of the brand itself. So I think that's going to be a pretty interesting trend that will come out pretty soon.
I think so. Absolutely, Satish.
Just add one point to Satish's point. So for us, for restaurants, so we see ourselves not as, of course we are the food industry, but we are also in the entertainment industry. So the experience we provide has to compete with a cinema or I don't know, a games parlor or something. So that's the market we are playing in.
Share of wallet. Fair enough. Changing gears, we've talked a lot about experience. Let's talk about trends and tastes. So retail industry, no matter what kind, whether it's service retail, product retail, whatever retail it is, we always have evolving tastes and trends. So whether it's burgers or whether it's all sorts of apparel, footwear, etc., how do you guys stay ahead of these changes? How do you predict how these changes are going to impact stores, e-commerce, works in general? And how do you actually respond to this? Is there any technological advantage that you have, or is there any other way that you kind of just put yourself ahead of the game, evolving before the changes really happen?
Maybe it's a controversial statement that I'm going to make right now. There is no first mover advantage in technology.
Okay.
It eventually ends up from being a POC to start with or an experiment to start with into a mature outcome.
Yes.
And when you ride onto that cycle is the timing that actually matters. Because there is going to be a cycle of technology that it will follow, right from being probably experimented with till the time it matures. And you decide when you want to get onto that bandwagon. We all are speaking of AI now, we are all speaking on ML now, and so on and so forth. But looking at the use cases that are actually practically being used will be probably 5% or 10% of what is being spoken about. And that is the proof of the pudding, frankly.
Yes.
Because we can talk of hundreds of use cases, but how are they actually practically getting implemented and actually bringing a benefit to the organization? Because it is not a cheap technology. You have to invest to get a ROI on it eventually.
Of course.
And that ROI cannot be 10 years. It has to be, if you ask any retailer, they will say in months, not even years. Right? So it's very, very important that you decide at what point in time you use the technology that you want to get into. And there is enough and more technology that is coming. You look at the trends since last 10 years. It all started with probably big data, then there was metaverse, then there was blockchain, now it is AI, ML. All of these technologies are there and maturing over a period of time. And someone or the other has probably experimented and eventually culminated into some kind of maturity. So very important to know what point you get into and how do you eventually get an ROI on it, preferably within months, if not months, but at least within 1 year.
But question on that one, don't you think that if somebody actually has a first mover advantage and is implementing an early technology to gain insight over anything and like take a step forward before their competitors, isn't it going to eventually give them some advantage, at least for the initial phases when they're implementing it?
Definitely, yes, there will be. But there will be one, and there are hundreds more who are waiting. As I told you earlier, there is enough available for everyone right now. So let someone try. And we will look at there are 100 people trying and only 1 or 2 succeeding. We don't want to be in the 98.
Fair. Okay. So you're saying you would rather not be an innovator, you'd rather learn from other people's mistakes and then move forward.
Yeah, eventually.
I have a little different take on that. My take is you can have the first mover advantage or you can be the 10th person in the row who's actually implementing it. At the end of the day, what matters is how well you've done it.
Yes.
And as an organization, how well do you constantly keep re-looking at that, re-evaluating it, redesigning it, and use it properly.
Yeah.
If you keep doing that as an organization, you're very clear with the KPIs and what each function really has a role to play in that, I think the technology should work. Otherwise, you can be the first at everything and still not be the best at it, right? So
that's fair enough.
The other part is also, there might be many things that are going on that might interest you, but curating the right ones to go after and then bringing that in and then investing behind it, making it grow is probably a better process than actually going after multiple technologies, because you could have many things that are happening. You want to put your best efforts around the ones which have the greatest chance of success. I think that's probably another way to look at it as well.
Fair enough, but gentlemen, I'm not getting any examples out of it. What specific technologies are helping you predict trends or get ahead of these trends? What are you doing about it? Ranjan,
INCREFF.
ball is in your court.
INCREFF.
Yeah, I know. Most of you are going to give the same answer, but I'm also expecting a different answer also. Enlighten me. Tell me what else.
No, one technology where we are progressing on is virtual try-ons.
Okay.
One
is that
of the
working out
issues,
for you?
No, so we are in the early stages of it.
Okay.
So we basically have a delivered return problem. So when you send a product out, some part of it comes back, a large part of it comes back because of size issues. Now, there are multiple ways to solve that problem, but one of the situations is to see whether you can have a size recommendation engine or a virtual tryout of a product so that the customer is more informed when they're buying or selecting the size. That is something that I see promise in. There is some initial early pilot studies that we have done, which shows that there is potential for that to reduce the amount of delivered return.
That's interesting. That's a product idea for me. You already use a recommendation engine for the inventory planning. Maybe you can link it to the CRM and see if you can do that for the customer, for individual customer as well. Okay, thanks for that. Bringing us to the conversation, the buzzword of the year, as I would put it, AI. So, Kunal said he wants to talk about AI for sure.
No, I'll definitely advocate to go for AI, but you need to decide what are the use cases you want to solve, how you want to solve it, what time of the day. Because it means different for different people, different organizations will be at a different maturity level, and their need will be different, so each of them will have to decide. I think that's what I would want to add about AI, otherwise we can keep going.
He did. I still wanted to hear everybody's thoughts on AI, but okay, maybe that's for an offline conversation. Thank you so much, gentlemen. This has been fun.
Thank you.
And hope for the audience as well. I'm told that we don't have time for questions, so we'll leave it at that.